episode of the Female Striving Over 30 podcast. Today is going to be an interesting podcast because we're actually doing this as a test to try the new microphone that I got, a new program for us to be recording these episodes. And let me tell you, we are a little bit technology challenged, or something is not working because this microphone, I mean, it's not fake, it's real, but it's not working. I'm using the computer microphone. Um, Jasmine, the poor thing, she's on her phone because the laptop didn't want to recognize any microphone, not even the computer microphone. And yes, we're going to see how this goes. What's your experience
Yeah.
so far with this, Jasmine?
I'm staring at a stack of books, a mix of personal development and quite a few like crime thriller books because that's what I like. So I was staring at some like really weird books. I have my phone on the top and my microphone is not plugged in. But I didn't want to feel left out. So I mean neither of us have our microphones plugged in. But here we are. Hopefully you can hear me from my phone.
I can hear you perfectly. But yeah, this is, I mean, it couldn't be a better way to start the Millennials podcast because today we're going to be talking about what shaped us. And yeah, let's start. We have been asking some questions on our Instagram, and we have plenty of them in here. So the way that we are going to be doing this podcast is we have kind of like divided it by topics, and then we're talking about them and just putting in a few of the questions that we have received. I don't know, Jasmine, if there is anything else that you want to mention before we start.
My internet is dipping in and out a little bit, so hopefully it's gonna stay with us to get through this. But I heard most of what you said.
Okay. Well, anyway, this is a test podcast. We might re-record it at a later stage when we are fully ready to do this. But I think it's gonna be fun to have that and just have people a little bit like enjoying our technology challenges today.
It's real. We're keeping it real, you know. We're authentic. We're relatable. That's what this is all about.
Totally. Totally. Okay, so maybe let's start with technology and social media. And let's start with how was for you growing up with technology? Like, what is the first thing that you remember? And with technology, I mean anything like phones, internet, absolutely anything. What is the thing that first comes to mind that you feel that is so different now to what it was when we were growing up?
So I remember, like, I thought I was the bee's knees when I got my first phone. I must have been, to be fair, I was a little bit younger because my sister was 3 years older. So she didn't get her phone until she was 3 years older than me, but they didn't want to leave me out. So we got a phone at the same time. So I can't remember how old I was, but definitely not as young as children get phones now. And it was a huge silver flip
Oh,
phone.
flip
It was
phone.
really chunky.
Fancy.
Yes, it was a flip phone. It was a flip phone. That's what I had first. So that's probably one of the main things. But going even younger than that, tapes. Like, I remember me and my sister, there was one particular tape that we had growing up, and me and my sister always used to listen to it because it was like the only tape. I feel like it must have been the only tape because I don't think we'd have picked these songs. But on one side, there was this really slow song about like how a flower grows or something. I don't know, not something we'd want to listen to. And on the other side of this tape, there was the song that says, "I get knocked down, but I get up again." Do you know that song? I drink a whiskey drink, I drink a lager drink. So me and my sister used to make up dances to that song when I was a child, and I obviously had no idea what the lyrics meant. But why on earth that was the only tape we had in the house? But it was. So we used to listen to that song on repeat, and I don't know how many dance routines we made up to that song. But that's one of
Yeah,
my
because I mean,
earliest.
for if anybody younger, if anybody younger is listening to us, we were the original TikTokers. We
Yes.
just couldn't film ourselves.
Yes.
That's the only thing. But we were doing dances
Oh
to
yeah.
songs and music.
Oh yeah. You know what? Like if a friend couldn't even come round the house to my house unless they were going to come ready to learn a dance routine, because that's all I ever wanted to do. And then all the parents, their parents would come to pick them up, and then their parents and my parents would have to sit and watch the whole show we'd made up that day. That was just the way it
Absolutely. I mean,
was.
that was the days. I love it. Actually, this ties really well with Katie Bridie. Oh, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your names, but Katie Bridie asked, and one of the things she mentioned is CDs, tapes to CDs to now what is like iPods and stuff. And I do remember that as well, like having that little. It was Fisher Price. I don't know if you had that brand here in the UK. Fisher Price that had like um
Yeah.
what do you call it, like a boombox, kind of like a
Oh.
recorder kind of thing, and that my songs, my tapes as well, with all of this song, and then um wanting to record songs from the radio and having to
Yeah.
wait because you were like, okay, this next song is gonna come, and sometimes you had to wait for the song to start. It's like, oh, I want this song, and then you start the recording. And sometimes you had in the recording like, and now we're gonna listen to the new song of Britney Spears. And click record.
And then the annoyance when somebody else in the household started recording something halfway over what you'd recorded. Same with like tapes. Like some you would I remember I always used to watch films on tapes, and then it would be like I'd be halfway through a film and then like it would all of a sudden change to like a school play or something. Because my parents had just like put it in the record in the tape recorder and started recording us.
And there was like one thing with VHS tapes. You could remove one little section of the VHS, and it wouldn't allow to record on top. It was kind of like a security thing, like, okay, it's secure.
Oh.
But then there was a hack, because if you could put like some
Oh.
sellotape over it, then the VHS tape machine will say, oh, it's free to record, and then you could record over it.
Oh.
So when people knew
Yeah.
about that, and then you're like, oh, let's watch Grease. Come on, I'm ready to watch Grease, and then you're like, like Jaws is like in the middle of it. It's not what I wanted to watch. My goodness.
People like younger people now just don't know the privilege that they've got with like Netflix and being able to literally watch anything. Well, not anything, but most things. Many options of what you want to watch. I mean, if you're willing to rent or buy, then it really is anything. Like
Yeah.
I had to pick from the shelf in my house.
Or Blockbuster. Did you used to
Yeah.
have
Oh, yeah. Me
Blockbuster
and my
here?
Yes, me and my husband are still so sad that Blockbuster's gone. Because even when I first met my husband, we used to go to Blockbuster and get a film and get like, there was always like a McDonald's or a Domino's next to Blockbuster. We'd get our film, get our food, and go home and watch it. And there was something really nice about actually going somewhere and looking through and picking. And then the thing that was really good is even if the film was bad, you still watched the whole thing because you literally paid for it and rented it. Whereas like nowadays, the amount of evenings we spend just starting and stopping films, and then we never actually watch a full film because we keep changing our
Or
minds.
browsing, because there is too much
Yes.
choice, right? And then you
Yeah.
spend like an hour just browsing, deciding what you want to watch. And then you're like, I don't
Yeah.
really feel like watching this, and then you stop it. And then you have 1,000 movies and
Yeah.
TV shows and continue watching that you've never finished watching.
Yeah. And
Plus,
I'm just a bad decision maker as it is.
I also think like having phones now make you distracted and not really paying that much attention to movies. Whether back then you used to just go to the Blockbuster to find a new movie that you wanted to watch because there was nothing really on TV. Because on TV as well, you needed to wait for what is going to be on that day, that channel,
Yeah.
and go through all the adverts as well. And then you
Yeah.
sometimes have two movies at the same time in different channels, and you have to choose which movie are you going to watch. And usually there was only one TV in the house. There was not that TVs in the bedrooms or anything like that. So sometimes just like going and renting a movie was easier.
Yeah. But it was like an occasion. I think there's so many things
Yeah,
now that have become just like normal life that used to be like an occasion. I feel like there's is almost less ways to treat yourself now because everything is like just so accessible.
100%. I mean, I really, really enjoy my like Friday nights or Saturday nights dates, like with my parents or my friends, and going to rent a movie. And then you have a time limit, right? Because we were not going to be an hour on the store looking for a movie. It was like, okay, let's decide on a genre, and then let's go to
Yeah.
that the shelf that had all of those movies, and then see which one we fancy to we fancy to watch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you had to read the VHS tape to know what it was about. There's no
Yeah.
trailers that you could watch and decide if you like
Yeah.
the movie or not. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, such nice times.
It was the best time. Yeah, it was my husband, honestly, like I don't think my husband's ever got over it. Like we both say, oh, it's bad, but my husband really like he's really scarred by Blockbuster closing.
But because also like it makes you like go out of the house. Like right now, me, for example, I work from home. I realize that I rarely leave my house
Yeah,
because I wake up and unless I go to the
yeah,
gym, I'm at home, and then I finish work. My boyfriend comes from work, and then we put TV and watch something on Netflix. Whether this way, you were like, okay, I need to get out of the house. And as you said, it was like an occasion, going out, picking up your movie, picking up your takeaway, and then
yeah,
go home and just watch the movie. And then remember to
yeah.
return the movie back.
All the fines. That's the one thing you don't miss the fines.
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all. Um, and in terms of phones, like you say, you have a silver flip phone. I said like that's fancy because my first phone was an and again, I don't know if this brand was in the UK. I guess so because I don't think there was that many brands back then. But it was called an Alcatel.
I don't know that. I don't think.
No, that might be only in
Yeah.
Spain. But it was like a brick. It was like a proper brick. It was yellow. And it had the smallest screen ever in the world, and it had like an antenna.
Oh, okay. You had, and did you choose it for it to be yellow? Was that a choice, or were they all yellow?
I think there was like only yellow and black. I think there was no other option.
Oh yeah.
You didn't really have that many options, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I was 15. I think I was 15 when I got my first phone.
Yeah. So see. I feel like I would have been. I was younger, but my sister was definitely old. Was more like that age.
Hmm,
I think, which is crazy to think now because you see like very small children with phones compared to then.
yeah. And the thing is, like, now I'm thinking kids now need the phones, right? Because you need to know where they are. You need to make sure that, they don't get lost and things like that. But we used to be out in the world with no phone, no way to contact anybody. You needed to learn your house landline just in case you got
Yeah.
lost. Tell whoever, call my parents,
Yeah.
or you had like some
Yeah.
coins in your pocket that you could use on a payphone.
Yeah.
No, those payphones in London that look so nice and so it's aesthetics. It's like a good prop. They used to work.
Oh, I don't even have a
You
landline
used to be
now.
able to use it.
I don't have a landline, do you?
Me neither.
No.
Mm-mm. I don't. I was like, why do I need to pay extra
Yeah,
for if I have my phone?
yeah,
And I never picked up the phone.
yeah. I still remember my
the
landline
landline.
phone from when I was younger. My parents' phone number. Do you?
Me too. And literally, they have just sold my childhood house, so that phone is
Oh,
no longer. Like, I mean, well, it exists, but
yeah.
if I call it, it's not gonna be like, oh, that phone number that I know by heart.
Oh, what if you get lost?
Well, at least I know my mom's phone number, her, her cell phone. At least I know that one. But I think it's the only one I know. Her cell phone and my sister's cell phone, and my sister's cell phone I know because it's exactly the same as mine, but the last number is different. But
Oh,
don't
that's
ask
so
me to
good.
remember
That's really
another
handy.
phone. Do you
I
remember
don't know
phone
anybody's. Mm. I don't know anybody's except my own. Nobody else's. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and my own. I know my own as well.
Yeah.
I also know my own phone number. Um, but yeah, it's interesting, right? Like how many phone numbers we would have memorized when we were younger, and now and I'm unable to remember numbers. I don't know if because my brain says like, well, you can look it up in the phone.
I do think as people we've just got lazier over time because all the stuff that we had there were so many things that we had to memorize or learn. And now, especially when you think of like AI, like all the stuff, like even how easy it is on your phone to Google questions, like there's not that much we need to remember. We don't need to remember directions because we'll just
Yeah,
use a map. Like we don't actually have to use our brains as much. Like we just rely on things to tell us the answers to everything. Whereas I feel like we were forced to have to actually use our like memorize things and stuff because we had no other
another you said
choice.
like Google, you ask them a question. I remember having to do a paper for school about killer whales like orcas, and had to go to the encyclopedia, like the book, and go to the O, look for orcas, and read about it and do the paper.
Well, when I always think about just any like people that used to have degrees. Like obviously, when I did my degree, obviously we were already at the point where
Hmm.
I could use the
Yeah.
internet and everything. But people like that had degrees in like the 90s went to a library, and to find any of the information for any of their essays, they would have to read books and books
And
and
stay
books.
there in the library for hours.
Like something we could do in like 30 seconds. They earned those
Absolutely, yeah.
degrees.
They did. They 100%. And then most of them they had to write things down, like handwriting, and then maybe type it in a
Yeah,
typewriter because they were not
yeah,
computers, right?
yeah.
Because I think
Hmm.
when were computers out for the first time? Do you remember how old you were?
No, I don't remember. I just remember us having like we had like a big block computer, like obviously the ones with the big backs that was right
Mm-hmm.
out. And our computer was very, very basic. So it can't like it was definitely a very old style computer. But I don't know what there was before that. That's just my earliest memory of what a computer was like.
Yeah. I think that was the very first computer because I think before that it was
Yeah.
just typewriters. And I think that those were like the very first computer where you basically had Word. Not I don't think they even had Excel. I don't remember seeing Excel. And then like two games, which was the Solitaire, I
We
think.
had like some sort of battleship thing that like blew up things. Was that it? It was like
I
I
think
don't even know if it was actually proper battleships, but it's like this grid with all
it
these
was the
squares, and
mines.
there'd be
Wasn't
little
it the mines?
bombs. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a mine. Yeah, like a bomb. Like yeah, and I don't. I to this day I don't. I used to play it, as in I used to sit there and click it. I had no idea what it was. To this day, I have no idea what it was. I don't know how to play that game. I tried when I was bored, when I was a child, but I still don't know how it works.
I forgot about the mine one. Yeah. Oh my god, yes. Wow, everything has advanced so much. Like literally, I remember having like an IT class at school where they were showing us how to use Paint, program Paint. That's where we were doing
Yeah,
our designs and stuff. Very
yeah,
basic.
yeah,
So that we
yeah,
couldn't do many things. And now people are using Canva and doing all of these like fancy
yeah.
things.
I
And we were
remember
just
I won.
trying stuff with Paint.
I remember winning. I won a Christmas card design competition where I drew an angel on paint, and then all the cards were printed with my angel. It is the worst thing you've ever seen, but they at the time that was like a masterpiece.
Please try to find that. If you have it, please
I
try to
will
find
try.
it because then we're gonna put it here for everybody to see. The angel of
Okay.
Jasmine that won the contest.
Yeah.
Please find it.
On paint.
Uh, so yeah, we were
Okay.
learning
I'll
how
look
to
for
use
it.
Paint. Um, and then we played like a few games, kind of like a snake game, like a weird snake game, and then I think Pac-Man and Pinball.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I remember that. Like a little arcade thing.
Yeah. You're so old, Jasmine.
This is supposed to be uplifting, and I feel like this is kind of sad.
All the nostalgia. So this is like the very first times, and then someone actually asked. Let me try to find the question. So on Instagram, her name is Not a Normal Woman, and she said the beautiful sound of dial-up. So every time that we had to connect, only one person could be online at the time, and you couldn't use the phone, you couldn't use the line if you were using internet because it was exactly the same one. And you connect and you
Yeah,
were like,
I remember that.
ding.
And I just remember the pure rage as a young teenager when my parents would have to use the phone. Like, no, it's not fair. I'm on MSN.
I'm in the middle of
I'm
the
talking to
conversation.
my friend. The boy that I fancy is online on MSN and I can't message him because you're on the phone.
Oh my god. You're like, sorry, my parents asked me to get out. I'll be back. And then you were hoping, and you were like listening to your parents' conversation, and you're like, please finish soon because he's gonna be gone when I am able to be online again. And now I won't be able to talk to him until I see him at school tomorrow. And for those that are
Oh,
listening and might not know what MSN is, it was kind of like a, what would you compare it to?
geez, it's like it was like a chat room type thing. So yeah, kind of like I guess Facebook Messenger would be similar in
Yeah.
terms of you can I think you can see who's online. So you could like see who was online, they'd be at the top, and then everyone that was offline would be underneath. But super basic, like you would just see the text names, which were very
Oh,
important
yes.
back in the day. Because, because it wouldn't be just your name. There'd be a lot going on in there. You know, the friend that's annoyed that they're not first in the list of all your friends in your MSN name, or there'd just be lots of like kiss X's for kisses and wiggly lines. And I remember, I'm sure I'd have been like jazzy or something like that. That was always the stuff I would put in mine. And then yeah, putting all your friends in there or whatever it might be, and everyone took it very much to heart.
Yes, and you will just put
People were
like your
changing them every day.
lyrics, like a lyric of a song that was directed to someone. And then like with
Yeah,
all of the different characters that you would put it, you sometimes could create kind of like a bear face or something like
yeah,
that.
yes, yeah, like yeah, all the like love hearts, but where it's like the more than sign and a 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we didn't have emojis. We didn't have emojis. You had to be creative. It's literally like when you write boobies on a calculator with 80085 or whatever it, 135 or whatever it is. That was literally that was all we had. It was just the most basic characters.
But I think all of that made us very creative, and I really think
Yeah.
that, as you said, like we started to get a little bit lazy because things are being done for us. Whether before our brain had to
Yeah.
work, we needed to get all of these things
Yeah.
done. And I remember even on the
Yes.
phone, you had certain ringtones, but you could create your own if you knew music. So depending on like each
Yes.
number on the keyboard made a
Yeah.
sound, so you could create a song with that. Ah,
Yeah. There was some really like odd trending ringtones. I feel like, do you remember Crazy Frog? Do you remember that song? Like, that was a ringtone. Like, people would have that. People would have bizarre, and they were all really like, they weren't like the actual songs. They were like the songs being played on like a weird, like a really robotic version
yeah,
most of the time. You know, like now you
yeah,
would hear the actual song, like how it's supposed to be. It would be like a weird
mm,
robotic version of the song, wouldn't it? Like the
yeah.
tune, but almost like you were
Oh,
pressing
we
a
need to try
button.
to. I'm
So I
gonna
feel
try to
like some
find
of them
it,
were like that.
some of those, and just put it in here for people to listen to. Um,
Yeah.
and I remember like when we had phones, we were able to record our voice messages. Like, sorry, I'm not here. And we used to. Well, I didn't really do it because I didn't
Yeah.
find any that I like, but there were people that will be recording on the radio or whatever a song. So when the song came on the radio, they were like, quick, whatever
Oh
number you
yeah.
need to call to record the message, and then say your name and
Hmm.
finishing or whatever, and then finishing the song again. So you could have like a really cool one. And all of this was so people could listen to it, or you would record that as your ringtone, so you could have a cool ringtone. And I have to say, I have not had my ringtone ever since I'm like older. My phone is on vibration.
Yeah, me too. I was about to say, I literally like, I haven't heard a phone ring in I think I'd be a bit, it'd make me jump if I heard a phone ring. I literally, all I hear is the vibration. Yeah. I haven't had sound
Yeah, I
on
think it was like when we were
for
younger
years
only.
and
And then
years.
why
Yeah.
is that? Do we know? Are
I
we
have no
afraid of
idea.
phones?
Yeah. Is it just like do younger people have their sound on? I don't know. Is it is
That
it
would
a
be a good
is it
question.
a normal thing to just have vibrate? We'll have to do a thing on our Instagram and get people to vote whether they have their like a sound on or off on their phone.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think for us like that? I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't love talking on the phone. But I don't know if that is because when we were growing up, there were no mobile phones. We only had the landline. So you were not available 24/7. If you were not at home when people called you, you couldn't pick up. So you were
Yeah.
coming home and then listening to your voice messages. Um, and even when you were home, I think I might have been like 12 or so when the caller ID came out. So
Mhm.
you would be able to
Yeah.
see who was calling you, and you could
Yeah.
decide whether to
Yes.
pick up or not the phone
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And now it's like you might be doing whatever, and then and you're like, who is this? Plus all the scams that are going on right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am, I'm calling you for three, and you're like, no. Or I heard you in an accident. No, no.
I feel like I do struggle with being constantly connected. I do think I
Mhm.
struggle with that, and it'd be interesting to know whether people that grew up with mobile phones and like more so, or was like just culturally. I think culturally things are different. Like it's more expected that you are always available
Yeah.
now than it was when we were younger, and I'm curious to know if they feel the same. But I definitely sometimes get overwhelmed with feeling connected all the time, and there's a huge guilt. I carry a huge amount of guilt if I don't respond fast enough to people, and it which I think is because I struggle with being, because I think, well, people know I have a mobile phone. People know that I'm on my phone for work or other things, so that I feel like there's an expectation for me to respond within a certain time. So then if I haven't, like after a certain amount of time, I'm thinking, oh, can I even reply now? If I reply now, is that worse? Now that I've left it 3 days, like there's a real stress that comes with being connected all the
Absolutely.
time,
Like
I
I'm the
think.
same, but I answer fast. And then I think it's because of that, because I feel like because I am available or I'm
Yes.
connected, I need to answer. And I think I really need to work
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
disconnect a little bit from it. Because I
Yeah.
notice like people don't answer to me as fast as I answer. But if I don't answer fast, I just feel like I'm not doing
Yeah.
my duty of answering my messages that I have received.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually,
Yeah.
now that you just mentioned this, before, when there were no mobile phones, I'm pretty sure people have a better work life balance because
Yeah.
you finish work, you get out of the office, you get home. There is no way to reach you until the next day because there is no computers, no way for you to get online and check your emails,
Yeah.
no way for people to call you.
Yeah.
Like your boss is not going to call you home to your landline
Yeah.
at like 10
Yeah.
p.m.
Yeah. I feel like it's made, like, since having Mila, it's made a difference to me, because before I had her, definitely was more like you, and I was a lot more connected all of the time. But then since having her, the guilt of being on my phone all the time with her overrides the guilt of not getting back to people. So it's almost like neither guilt has gone. I've just got one now that's even worse. I've just got a worse guilt, which is like, if I can't like spend the day with her and her keep looking at me and me be looking at my phone. When she looks at me, I want me to be looking
Yeah,
at her and what she's
what makes sense?
doing. So I think for me, that's helped the shift. It's actually helped me. It's helped me disconnect more and justify it. Whereas before that, I felt like I couldn't justify having that time to
Hmm.
disconnect in the
Yeah,
same way. But we shouldn't need that reason.
no,
But I feel like it took that for me to actually think, right, I should disconnect a bit
mm,
more.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to me, it's one of the things that I really need to work on, and I'm trying, but it's hard. I don't know if it's because of the way that we were brought up. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, Gen Z and like all of these new generations don't have that guilt if they don't answer a message.
Yeah,
In a way, I'm really grateful for technology because living in another country is really
yeah,
helping me to talk to my parents every
yeah,
day. Whether if we didn't have this like internet, it would have been hard. I remember being 16 and going for the first time to the USA as an exchange student for the summer. And my parents literally shipped me, they put me on a plane and sent me to live with this family for a whole month that they've never met. I mean, I was going through an agency, so obviously they kind of have that security of
yeah,
like I was not going by myself. But I was going to live with some parents never met. And they didn't get a call from me until my midnight when I arrived, which was the next day for them.
yeah.
I just couldn't comprehend. I couldn't comprehend that right now. Like sending my child to another country and not hearing from I will be like, something's happened, they've been kidnapped, they lost their phone, they need what do they need? Do I need to travel there?
Well, that's actually like made me think of something that I think of all the time, which is being connected. We know of bad things happening in the world more than we do. Like, I think, right,
Yes.
bad things happening around the world every day wasn't as in our faces, because one, it took time to get to our news for us to see, and also you could just choose not to put the news channel on if you didn't want to hear the news, whereas now you can't escape it. And I think it doesn't help with mental health, because being told of everything bad that can happen all the time, like what you're saying about, oh, have they been kidnapped, is kind of the stuff you would think, because we're exposed to stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't help that I have all my books in front of me that are all like crime and thrillers and kidnap and all sorts.
The
But
crime.
then, so, I mean, that does not help. I definitely am too into true crime, and that definitely influences the way my mind works. But I think just being exposed to stuff like that all the time does make us more aware, which is it's a good thing to be aware of bad things that can happen. But it can lead to anxiety, I think, because we're just hearing all this stuff all the time, and it's at the forefront of our mind. Whereas I feel like our parents maybe had less worries in that way, because they were just a little bit more naive to it. Like, they were just a little bit more sheltered.
Absolutely. I really think right now there is too much information that puts us, like, it makes us nervous. It makes
Yeah.
you really believe the worst is going to happen in every situation, which in a way is good because, as you said, you're aware. So whatever thing that you're doing, you are like more aware of your surroundings and things like that. But also, I think it doesn't help with people that suffer with anxiety.
Yeah.
And like as you said, like before, you could decide if you want to put the news or not. Since I moved here to the UK, in the house that I am in now, I don't have an aerial. I don't have TV
Oh,
because I
okay.
was not really
Yeah.
using it. And I was like, that's great because then I don't see the news. Because for me, every time that I was watching the news, everything was sad, was
Yeah.
sad, was sad, was sad.
Yeah.
There was like wars here, wars there, things that happen, and it was affecting me. It was affecting my mood. I was like, okay, it's fine. Whatever news I need to know, I will find on Facebook because someone will share an article of something. And then TikTok
Mhm.
came up.
Yeah.
And now you cannot escape it
Yeah.
because everybody's creating content
Yeah.
and not everybody's creating happy content.
Mhm.
And then you're just trying to scroll through and you're like, oh, this video is interesting. And you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
no, no, this is so hard. So
Yeah.
it's really, you said, it's really difficult to escape it.
Yeah. And it's exhausting. Like, the emotional, just like emotionally, it's draining to be, especially when you think like scrolling something like that. One minute you're seeing something terrible that's happening in the world, the next minute it's something that's supposed to make you laugh. Like, the emotional roller coaster on an app like that, in the like 5 minutes that you might scroll on it, you leave it feeling a bit like deflated, exhausted. I feel like it takes a lot of our energy.
Absolutely. And you realize and you've been scrolling for 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah. And then you think all the
And
stuff I could have done in this time.
I'm really trying. I need to do a detox of social media stuff because I had to
Yeah.
say when I'm bored, I go in and I start like either go scrolling through TikTok or Instagram. Instagram is better because there is not that is usually people that you follow that go in there. But on
Hmm.
on TikTok now you have the For You page where you see content from everybody, not just the people you
Yeah.
follow. And I'm like, why I am only getting distracted and entertained watching TikTok, whether as we spoke about it before, when we were little, we're just making a dance and we were like
Yeah.
in a whole evening doing a dance or reading a book or
Yeah.
doing something so
Yeah.
sucked in into TikTok.
I definitely, it's part of the Wellness Week stuff that I'm going to do for Mental Health
Oh,
Awareness
I
Week.
need that.
Some of that I think is going to be around kind of detoxing or limiting your time. Because I think we all do it, even like if you're conscious of it. Like, I definitely try not to do it, but like I have all good intentions of like, once I get Mila to sleep at night, especially if I've had her all day and I've not really had any me time, I have all these plans in my head, like I'm going to get her to sleep and then I'm going to do this, that, and the other, all these things that I need to get done. But then obviously it's a tiring day, and then I put her down, and then I sit on my bed while I wait for her to fall asleep so that I'm not waking her up, moving around, doing stuff. I start scrolling, and then I look at the time and I think, right, now all I've got is like half an hour to go get myself ready for bed and go to sleep. And it's that is the time, it literally just takes all of your time
It,
if you let
and
it.
it's, I mean, I get scared sometimes about like, oh my God, like I've been in this app for so long. Um, it also
Mhm.
creates me
Yeah.
unnecessary shopping habits that I am my
Mhm.
what I started doing is I would put things in the cart and then leave them there and try to
Yeah.
forget about them because otherwise I think I'll be broke.
Oh yeah. Well, actually,
Because
thinking about like when we were young compared to now, like I used to, me and my mum would take me and my sister on a shopping trip, and it would be like on a Saturday, and we'd go on the bus into town, and we would go to all the shops like Tammy Girl and all whatever they had at the time, and we would like do a shop and we'd treat ourselves to some clothes and stuff, and then that was it until you would go to town again in however many weeks or the next month or something. Like it wasn't, we couldn't, like it wasn't so easy to buy things. Like you weren't online shopping. So
absolutely.
actually, it was like you would make purposeful trips to buy things you need. Whereas now,
It was an
like
event as
we just
well.
buy everything and we just, and then the next day it turns up at our house. Like it's too easy.
It's so I really remember every year I used to do the same thing with my mom, right? And she was like, okay, you have this budget for your spring summer wardrobe and this budget for your fall winter wardrobe. So we were going shopping like twice a year for like new
Yeah,
clothes. And that budget didn't, you couldn't buy like a whole wardrobe, right? Out of things. But then we were conscious about, okay, this is how much money I can spend and all of that. And now yeah, it's just so difficult to try to only buy clothes twice a year, right?
yeah,
Because things
yeah,
come up, or well, and not just clothes, anything. Like you can just literally
yeah,
buy
yeah,
anything, and you can get it shipped
yeah,
the next day. And yeah, that's crazy how online shopping, like the technology as well surrounding online shopping.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
do not remember what was the very first online shopping experience that I had. What
Oh
was the
no, I
very
don't remember either.
because Amazon has been on for a while. It was not that popular when we were younger.
No, I don't remember. Like I, my first job was at Topshop. When I was 16, that was my first job. So like basically everything I earned would be spent in the shop. So that was one of my main places to shop, especially when I was that sort of age. But I don't recall ever really buying things online. But again, with the Blockbuster type scenario that we were talking about earlier, like the appreciation that I had for my things, like back then, I would go out for the day on a shopping trip, and it would be this like momentous occasion. I'd be so excited on the train or the bus or in the car or whatever to go shopping. And then I would really take care in choosing what I wanted, and I'd be wise about what I bought. And I would go home, I'd be so happy, and I'd put them all on and do a fashion show for my family. And I just like, I don't know if it was an age thing as well, but I mean, now like it's so easy to buy on with online shopping. I don't get that same. I don't have the same level of appreciation, and I probably don't value my things as much as I did.
Hmm.
The same with like films, like block when we used to go to Blockbuster, would appreciate that experience and we'd treasure that experience and we'd make enjoyment out of the film even if it wasn't the best film. Whereas now it's so easy to have options. And the exact same with the clothing thing. I think like, oh well I can order stuff and send it back, and it's kind of like a blase thing. It's not really a like nice thing to do anymore in a way.
True. Yeah, because like I think we buy a lot of things like, uh, well, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I don't know if this size is gonna be good. I'll just buy it, and if not, I'll return it. Whether before you had to go to this, you have
Yeah,
to go from your house to the mall or to the street where you have like all the stores. Be there,
yeah.
get try things on, and do you think that the level of customers has changed a lot because of thing? Because I do believe that before, um, the people at the stores were like so nice, really helpful, because they were really trying to sell you things. And now I feel, I don't know if it's because it's younger people working
Hmm.
that have a different kind of work ethics than we did, or it's actually before because the physical stores don't sell as much as they do online and they don't really care. if you buy things on the store or not.
I think it all goes down to this. Like, this is gonna be my assumption, but I think maybe it all goes back to this thing of having options, like the Blockbuster thing, having options for
Mhm.
films instead of a short selection. The same with the fashion, and the same with like careers. So when I got my first job at Topshop, like I thought that was the best thing that ever happened to me, but I also didn't think it was easy for me to just quit and do something else for money. So I wouldn't want to lose that job.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like now maybe young people like they're seeing a different way of life that we weren't exposed to, like the influencers, the YouTubers, content
Mm.
creators, anything
Yeah.
like that, that maybe they don't appreciate the job that they've got. Say if, I know Topshop's not here anymore, but say if that was a job now or whatever other popular
Mhm.
store, if somebody got a job there now, at the time I was like, this is the best job ever because I didn't have these like incredibly out of reach jobs to compare it to.
Oh yeah.
So I really appreciated it and I loved it. And whereas now, if somebody got that job, would they be thinking, I have to come here and stand on this fitting room and pass people their numbers and stuff? And when I scroll on my phone at break, I'm going to see all these people with these like unattainable lives that
Mm.
this job's not good because I want to do what they're doing. Like the comparison.
That's a really good point,
Yeah.
actually, because it is true. Like we didn't see that much. I think we were content
Yeah.
with what we've
Yeah.
got, and usually our friends and our circle more or less had the same type of jobs or around like similar things,
Mhm.
or and then you were hearing from people that had better jobs just because you knew someone that knew
Mhm.
that person that will tell
Yeah.
you about
Yeah.
it, but you needed to know
Mhm.
that person
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
know the other person, otherwise you wouldn't know
Yeah.
about any of that. Oh, that's a really interesting
Yeah.
point.
Because they just know, like, to them, they could be like literally traveling the world making TikToks in their head because they think I see
Mhm.
other people my
Yeah.
age doing that. So like that must make it so much harder to be happy with the small things. And I think we
Mm.
probably have a unique perspective on life in terms of like I really crave the simple things. Like as much as I do
Mm.
the social media and stuff and obviously pageants and I do want to do well in my career. Or in all like actually when it comes down to it, I do just want like quite a happy simple and I do crave those simple days and those simple things
Mm.
because it's almost like that's to us is like comfort. It's like the nostalgia of what life was like
Yeah,
before rather than like things having to be
absolutely.
exciting all the time. Whereas if I'd never experienced that slower lifestyle, I don't know. Like I always think with TikTok, like how fast paced they are and um like the people that grew up with that must get so bored with like reading a book because it's not like they're so used to things being flashy and engaging constantly.
Yes, totally, totally. Because I do actually like what you just said is kind of like what I have been feeling for the last few
Hmm.
months. Like thinking like when I was younger, I think I was happier in the sense of like I was happy with what I
Hmm.
had. I didn't I didn't want more of like much more. Like
Hmm.
right now,
Yeah.
I think many times we're comparing ourselves with what we see online.
Yeah.
And as you just said, right, like this young kid that is working on a shop and then sees that this other person is traveling the roads of their age, and they're thinking like, oh, if they can, I can do as well. And then we forget about like how cool it is as well to
Yeah.
be home and be happy with what we have and be grateful. I think right now
Yeah.
people are not really grateful for what they have because we crave more and we want more. We want what the other one has.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my house is it's not a good house because it
Yeah.
doesn't have a pool or it doesn't have a bathroom like as this person. And if I
Yeah.
want to create a video for skincare that I'm doing, my bathroom is it's not cute enough for me to do that. Whether we should be grateful that we actually have a bathroom
Hmm. Yeah.
at all, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I really have felt
Exactly.
like that lately. Like we were happier before when we didn't have all like this technology. So I feeling like I'm grateful for technology because of everything that it's allowing us to do. But at the same time, I'm like
Yeah.
we lived simpler lives before, and we were so happy. Can we go back to feeling the same
Yeah.
way? Do you think we will be able to?
I can't like I can't decide whether technology is going to keep going the way it is and
Hmm.
it's going to get worse. Like we're going to be more reliant on technology and stuff, or whether actually there's going to become a point where people start to push against it a bit and we actually revert back a little bit to the way things were before. Because I feel like there's only so far we can go. You know, when we're talking about like, especially with AI and everything coming in,
Oh
like
yes.
how happy can we be when everything's technology driven? I feel like
Yeah.
down to the core of what like humans need in terms of like being connected with the world and being connected with others, like in real life. I feel like we're going to end up going back to that in some way. Well, I hope so. I always
I
think
hope
about
so
it.
too because
Sorry, go on.
I know I was just gonna say because like what you just said,
Yeah.
AI. I'm in awe of AI. I'm like, wow, what we can do with this is incredible. But at the same time, I'm very scared
Yeah.
about where this is going. In the
Yeah.
sense of not just for jobs and how difficult that's going to be for people to keep certain jobs,
Hmm.
but the fact that us, for example, right now, we have this podcast or we've
Hmm.
done videos on Instagram. Someone can take that video and use AI to use our voices
Hmm.
and create something like call someone and pretend it's us, or
Yeah.
they can even like use our faces or whatever they've seen with photos that we have online and create a
Hmm.
video of us
Yeah. Yeah.
talking and people will believe it.
Yeah. And I've seen things recently about like AI, like porn related things, or like that terrifies me. Like the thought of like someone could take your face and then put it in a video like that, and people
Hmm.
wouldn't know if it was you or not. Like you are literally we are losing the control over how our image is used to a point where like the videos could literally be made of anything that with
Hmm.
our face on it, and it would be these deep fake. It's deep fake, isn't it? That's what it's called. So like
Yeah,
people would literally not know if it was you or not. That
yeah,
scares
yeah.
me a
Because
lot.
like before, you used to be able to see because kind of like it's not clear, was not good.
Hmm.
But now, right now, you can. It's really difficult to spot when something is
Yeah.
fake or not. And I guess the only way for you to see it is like going back into the coding of the image and see
Mm.
how was that recorded, on who recorded it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's scary. Like for me, I'm always somebody who's like
Hmm.
I have very strong morals, like in certain ways, and I'm very like careful about what I put out into the world. Like I've always been so cautious about what I post, or with still being authentic, but with
Yeah,
just making
yeah,
sure
yeah,
that
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
happy
absolutely.
with
Hmm.
if my daughter one day wants to look at things that I've done. I want her to be proud of me. I want it to be stuff that I'm proud to have put out into the world. So the thought of somebody else being able to take that control away from me is really scary.
It is. It is. And I think like I mean we've been talking for 56 minutes already. So I think we're gonna have to
Yeah.
finish around this topic and then we're gonna have to do a part two talking about all of the other we have so many other topics to talk about. But
Yes. Yeah.
um maybe to close on this, uh
Yeah.
I think the way that we were brought up it was so like, be careful with what you do because of what your employer is going to find, right? Like your future employer is
Mhm.
going to find. So I think we've always
Yeah.
been a little bit careful of what we've been putting out there just in case, right? But then you see now what I'm
Mhm.
seeing on TikTok, like people posting all kind of content about their job or whatever. And I'm like, aren't you worried that, or don't you know that what you put in the internet is forever? Absolutely anything that you put in there now is forever. And if they Google your name, they're gonna find your videos now, not just photos. And I do that sometimes. I Google myself and I see what can they find? You know? Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't
Yeah.
think people care that much
Yeah.
nowadays. And I don't know if it's like a
Yeah.
difference of um, generations or what. But as you say, it's scary.
I think it goes back to the like influencers and stuff because a lot of influencers are famous for being unapologetically themselves, in whatever way that might be, and quite often they're quite large characters, and they, it might be that they're like having a rant about something or whatever, and because they've grown up with that being normal, they probably think like, well, it's normal to just say whatever you want on the internet. Like, I don't know, like you say, I think we grew up being told to be cautious, and I think if you're growing up seeing that, and if you're like, our aspirations were different, like the types of jobs that we thought we'd be going
Yeah.
into meant that we needed to be careful, whereas if they aspire to be a YouTuber, they'd think, well, who cares what corporate jobs think, you know? But then if that doesn't work out, then that's a very dangerous game.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
That's really true. That is really true. Well, for everybody that is younger and is listening, we want to remind you to be cautious, that anything that you put on the internet, it's forever, and that rarely can be erased unless you are the owner of the platform and the content.
Hmm.
It's really difficult. And especially if you go viral and people repost it,
Yeah. If
no chance.
if you
No
don't
chance for that to disappear.
if you don't want your grandma to see it or your future children, don't put it out into the world. Even if it's private, like that goes for private messaging. I would say even like having things saved on your phone that you might not want to be out in the world because, with things like WhatsApp or, they have access to your photos and videos. Like the apps you use to edit your photos and videos, you give them access to permissions to access your albums. Like if they somehow got hold of your stuff, so don't. It's not even about what you
Didn't even
post.
think about that.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
yeah,
Oh God. I mean, it's not that I have anything
yeah.
bad on my phone, but I was like, oh
It's
wow,
just
I
food for
didn't think
thought,
about
isn't
that.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, how many photos do I have on my phone? But let me see, 22,111 photos on my phone. None of them are bad, but I literally that didn't even cross my mind that obviously we allow access so we can send photos and we can save photos. So obviously they can, if they hack
Yeah,
into our WhatsApp, they have
yeah,
access to everything. Okay,
yeah,
well, it's been already an hour.
yeah,
And this is an hour only of recording. It doesn't take into account the half an hour that we've been trying to figure out this program and this microphone issues. So it's been a while.
So I think we're gonna have to do. I think there's gonna be like
Yeah,
four
I
parts
think
to
so.
this. So I feel like we have so many more
We've already spent an
topics.
hour just on the technology and social media stuff.
Yeah.
And we have like
Okay.
4 more topics, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just a series on its own. This is just an element of the podcast on its own. I think we should just continue. It's really fun. I think we just continue these
Yeah,
as
I think
well.
so too. I think this is good to go back and think about the way that we've grown up, how have changed, how things are now, what we're seeing, as you just said now, like be careful with what you put on the internet. Because I think reflecting in all of this is also helping us to understand our personality and the way that we are and the way that we have faced certain challenges or certain things in our life that have shaped us to be who we are now in our 30s. So I think that really ties really well. Now we need to think about how we're going to structure where we're going to add these episodes in between the interviews. But I think that is up to
Yeah.
Jasmine to decide and figure out. So yeah, Jasmine, I don't know if you want to do the send off of the episode.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been listening to Females Thriving Over 30. We've been talking all about nostalgia, and we're going to bring a part 2 for you very soon. So we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.